All right, welcome everybody to week 14, day 2. Today I'm going to be opening up an older project of mine and just showing you some of the stuff from that. The reason being, when I've got my new project open, the frame rate that I get here on the video here is just really slow. And I'm currently dealing with hardware issues. The thing actually froze when I started lecturing earlier. So I'm still trying to shake out the kinks in the new upgrade. So I've got Raptor Lake. I got 7200 RAM put in, but the system's not stable. So last class, it hard turned off during lecture when I was trying to run the 64 gig matrix demo. So exciting stuff. So I'm going to show you guys stuff from 2 years ago. Okay. So first off here, these are mega scans. And so mega scans are high quality scans where they go out and they do photogrammetry. Photogrammetry involves, let's slow my camera speed down a little bit here so you can get it better at it. So they go out there with like laser scanners and things like that, and they will scan in very high detail objects out in the world. And you can see this. I just threw some random things out there. You can see they're actually quite nice. And the Mega Scan stuff is, free as long as you're using Unreal Engine for your product. You can just use them as a library of free assets. This is what we talked about last time. And the Mega Scan stuff is like really one of the nicest things that Epic Games has done for people. You can just go onto the Epic marketplace. There's also something called Quixel Bridge that will allow you to bring stuff in, and you can get all sorts of high quality stuff. So this material here, topic 2, this material here is called Ada Blue, and so we just have this nice blue kind of. I think this doesn't have. Okay, EVGA precision. Temperatures not quite getting throttled. Okay, so I'm going to close you out to get rid of that on-screen display there. So, shading model. We could do like a clear coat thing, which is kind of fun on this, but I'm going to hit undo. So there's Ada Blue. No changes are made. And then you can see, though, this is not Ada Blue. It's got like this kind of mottled texture on it. And the reason for that is because this is not just Ada Blue, it is awesome material. So it has some texture parameters that can be modified. It's got some noise. It multiplies the noise by the noise strength together and multiplies the noise scale times the texture coordinates. And so this allows you to change the density of things. So this is something I've been wanting to talk to you guys about for a while. The texture chord node doesn't allow you to have parameters in it, which I think is maybe kind of an oversight. I think that these things should be settable as parameters, so you don't have to do something like this, which is sort of a weird hack to get it to work. So noise scale is a parameter, and you multiply the noise scale by the texture coordinate node. And by doing so, if I come out into here and go into, who are you? You are damaged blue. Find, double click. And I'm just going to pull it off to the side here. So you can see the sky is here, right? And if I turn off the noise, you see the thing just instantly responds. And what is that? Noise, which one was that? Noise strength. And then noise scale, you can see that as I change it, the density of the noise goes really wide, long wavelength noise to shorter and shorter and shorter wavelength noise as I drag it up. And what's happening there is that I'm multiplying this value here, noise scale, by the texture coordinates. And so what happens is it's tiling more and more copies of that noise texture onto the same surface. So you can do this to adjust the density of the noise you have on it. And the noise strength allows you to control just how strong that is. At 0, it's just the awesome material, basically. And with more, you can add more anodizing effects. It's rusting, it's getting covered in carbon, things like that. It's a really cool effect. I actually am really proud of how this turned out. And then there's also pit scale. So if I turn, let's see, if I turn noise down to 0, you can see it still has some, it still has these like indentations on it. And so if I drag that up and down, You can see I can turn off the pitting on it, or I can have it be really long wavelength pitting like that, or I can drag it up and it becomes more and more and more noisy. Sort of it's the scale of the pit, right? And so you can sit there and play with those for how big you want the bumps to be, and how much anodizing you want to have on the aluminum kind of looking thing here, how carbonized it is, things like that. Hey, what's going on, Megan? So yeah, my daughter actually designed this. I'm actually very, very proud of it. She actually, well, you know, during the pandemic, this was 2 years ago, this was fall, during the pandemic, she would come in during the afternoon and would hang out and be like, oh, pick this color, pick this thing. And, you know, she doesn't code per se, but, you know, she can do some of the blueprints stuff. And she, at the age of 8, you know, designed this material here, which I think looks kind of cool, you know. And because it's so dynamic, because you got parameters on it, you can just sort of sit there and just kind of play with it until, you know, it looks nice to you. So let's save on that. And so once again, how you make that work, if you want to have the texture scaling be a parameter, you can't just do it normally. It's to me a weakness in Unreal Engine. So what you have to do is you have to take the text coord node and you have to multiply it by a parameter. And then that, because these texture coordinates here with the U and V tiling, this is how many tiles per unit the texture repeats. So a higher value here means it repeats more, right? Right, high frequency, you know, things. So that's how many tiles per square meter, I think, the texture repeats. So a 10 means the texture repeats 10 times during a square meter. And a tiling of 0.1, which is what we had before, means it tiles once every 10 meters. So that's why you have this really long wavelength kind of noise here. And then we have another texture coordinate node multiplied by pit scale here. Pit scale is a different parameter. Remember, don't copy and paste parameters. If you do this, it will confuse the hell out of Unreal Engine. If you have 2 parameters with the same name, things will break. And I feel bad even like having done that, because it gets confused which one is which, and just the materials just explode when you copy and paste things. Don't duplicate things. It's just bad. So you just make a new parameter, right? That would be like a scalar parameter. You make a new scalar parameter and give it a new name. You don't copy and paste names. Like I said, Unreal Engine I've seen a lot of really weird bugs that everything was fine. It just happened because you had copied and pasted something. It got confused which one was which. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I forgot to tell you guys. And so this is something I've wanted to tell you for a while. And so you multiply that by that, and then this is a parameter, and then you can just sit there and adjust the scaling on things. It's also useful if you have like a wall and you got bricks and you want to adjust the tiling of the bricks on the wall and things like that. This is a clear coat. Okay, yeah. So clear coat is an undercolor to something. So if you make a clear coat like pink or something, it's going to have like a sheen of like pink on it. And so clear coat's like on a car. You have the upper layer that reflects light, and then you have a lower layer beneath it that reflects light. It's like a 2-layer surface, and it looks really cool. For surfaces for like cars and things like that, it looks really nice. Purely metallic. Spec is at 1. That's not attached to anything. I don't know what you're doing. Their texture sample here is, this is the normal map and the ambient occlusion, which I don't know if we're supposed to be doing that way, but whatever, it works. So, and then the noise here is being used. We multiply the noise by noise strength to make it stronger and stronger. And then we use that to lerp between black and our Ada cool color, our awesome color that Ada picked. And so that's what makes the thing get darker. So the higher the number is towards 1, like white is 1, right? So we multiply it by a number, and that makes more and more stuff 1. The higher it is towards 1, the more it is towards black. So we're doing like an inverting almost. So A comes out A if you got a 0, comes out B if you got a 1, and alpha picks between 0 and 1. And so we're making more and more 1s when we increase the noise strength. So that gives us more black on the final product. And so that is a cool little material that I will screenshot for you guys. It's this approach is a great way of approaching materials. Let's see here. Can you drag off one parameter into 2 spots? Yes, you can. So I could, if I had wanted to, drag off from here to here. That is doable. But like what I had was noise scale, and I wanted a separate parameter called pitch scale. And so I copied and pasted it and changed the name. I had changed the name. They weren't left as the same name. And even still, Unreal Engine had a aneurysm and like was like, what do you mean it's called pitch scale now? It used to be called noise scale. And like I'm changing noise scale and like pitch scale's changing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like none of this makes any sense. And so I just had to delete the duplicate and make a new one from scratch and give it the same name and hooked it up the same way and everything worked now. It just, like I said, just whenever you're dealing with parameters and material nodes, just don't ever hit that duplicate button. For whatever reason, like Unreal Engine just doesn't deal with it very well. Save it? Sure, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Okay. And then over here, we got Bloody Hell. Okay. So Bloody Hell is using a texture sample to lerp between red and white. And so we're getting some reds and some whites out of it. It's like a rust color, and it's using this texture sample here. Bloody hell. Yeah, it is dumb. Like it's just a bug, and it's been around for years. I don't know if it's been fixed by now. I'm too scared to try. So yeah, so we got red, we got white. This is actually a very simple material, right? And then it's using this texture sample here to lerp between the red and the white, and you can create this nice little rust surface. And then that is just the color. I don't know if that's the normal map. The normal map is black. It's kind of weird. Oh, it's a steel normal map. Okay. And so that's, you can see it's got a little bit of steel indentations on it for that. This is even simpler than, that one's not attached to anything. Okay. This one's even simpler than the other one, right? So this was like the step along the way to awesome at. But this kind of shows you how you can have a, you can like layer things on top of a material. And using Lurp nodes, again, every area here that's white, it'll pick the B. Every area here that's black, it'll pick the A. And if it's in between, it blends them together smoothly. That's what Lurping does. It's a linear interpolation. It blends between them. So that one's kind of cool. Yeah, sure, whatever. We'll save it. Then here we've got this brick thing here. And this is what I wanted to show you also today. So let me just snap it down a little bit. And so as I drag the scale around, you can see I can make the bricks bigger, or I can make the bricks smaller, right? And so this is useful, like especially if you're scaling nodes, right? You make them like really obnoxious, right? And so now your bricks are like super big, so you just kind of like drag the scale up and then get them back down to a reasonable size. So that's something else you do, and you can make it a metal thing here. One. Now it's a metal brick, which looks kind of bad. Turn that back off. And so you can see that you can use these parameters to kind of adjust the tiling on your walls and stuff like that to match if you're doing scaling, which in general I don't like doing. I don't like scaling things. Maybe just a pure rectangle, sure. But like anytime you scale, like imagine you got this stump over here, and like, okay, maybe we can scale it up a little bit, and maybe that's okay. I don't know, it's fine, I guess. But if you have some weird, like this, just like most of the time when you scale things, like they just don't look good. Like that's just not good. Like there's just no real salvaging that. Even if you have like a world align texture or something like that would preserve the scale of the texture, even when you scale it weirdly, it still looks weird. Like it just doesn't look good, no matter what. A pure rectangle, okay, sure, you can make the wall a little bigger or something, like, okay, fine, whatever, nobody cares. But like even for something like this, like it just you know, it just looks super goofy, you know, when you scale it. You know? So, yeah, I don't like it. Ramps, sure, maybe. So we got Bloody Hell here, which kind of has a cool, like, kind of a wet, rusted metal look. Over here, you can see we got 3 different lights. One for green, one for blue, one for red. And you can see the lighting from the 3 different lights kind of smoothly blending into each other on the white surface of the wall. So, I think this is like one of the door openers that I did. Oops. Right. It's so goofy. It's a blueprint that just, I was showing, I think, how to do a timer. And so if you walk up to it, the door opens, you walk through, the door closes like that. So that was the timeline thing, right? So what's happening here with these guys is ramp blueprint. Save all. Ramp blueprint. So this was showing how to do timers. So when the world spawns, it starts a timer, and every second it goes off, and the thing that gets called is called toggle show me. And so if show me was true, then show me is set to false. If show me was false, it knots it, sets it to true. And it counts how many times it has shown and hidden itself. And I think there's like a flip-flop you can do that does the same thing as this, but whatever. And so what happens is it sets whether or not it's hidden. So it will hide itself and then show itself and then hide itself and show itself. And after it finishes, then it clears and invalidates the timer using the handle here. So this is a variable called my time. It should be called like my timer. Okay. So it saves the timer into a variable, and then later on you can stop the timer like this. So it stops running. So after it's shown and hidden itself 20 times, it deletes the timer. So this is, again, a really powerful technique. We talked about timers earlier, but I can screenshot that for you as well. It's a great, super powerful, super flexible system that you can use. Speaking of bugs, I keep meaning to ask, in my HUD, a lot of the words have a shadow to make them easier to see. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. Sometimes half show up. Is this a glitch? Did I code this wrong? It's happened on the majority of widgets I've created. It could be. It could be a glitch. Usually those things are actually held in a variable. Like the text properties are held in a variable on the HUD. If you can screenshot it, then I'll take a look at it. And it's possible that something weird's happening there. Right. So that is a timer. And then you can see how lighting works here, right? So you've got the bluer part up here, it turns into purple over here, you got green over here, it's kind of whitish in the middle. And then we got physics over there on that giant ball. Let's go play that. So got a sentry gun there. The sentry gun's shooting at me, right? I can't see me now. So I'm holding it at an attack. Boom. So if you just click, you get a little ball. If you hold it down, you get a bigger ball. Hold it down further, get a bigger ball. So that's a charged projectile attack. A few weeks ago, we did a charged a Niagara effect, but that was the charged projectile attack. Okay. There's a button. I don't know what the button does. Spacebar pressed. Okay, well that's exciting. All right. I've got gravity turned down also. Do you guys see that? Kind of floating through the world. We got the ball here. I can hit it with giant balls. So it's like a Thank you. I appreciate it. So it's like a Rocket League kind of thing, you know? Like, we got this giant ball here. Fairly active back there. So I'm getting shot at right now. Stop shooting me. Right. Kick the ball through the goal. And it scores a point. And you can see up there in the sky, it is now 2-0 or something, right? Okay. Get the ball into the goal, and so there is a blueprint for that. Text material, where is your blueprint? Text from director. Maybe it's on the goal over here. Your goal PP. Okay. So goal PP has a scoreboard that is a text render object. So this is a world instance editable variable. And so what happened was we clicked on the object here. We did the eyedrop. The scoreboard is U. And then every time we score, the thing updates the score on the scoreboard. And so you can have one scoreboard or 4 scoreboards or whatever. It's all good. And the giant ball is its own BP that does pretty much nothing. There's no actual code on it. It's just a blueprint so that when the ball goes into the goal, we know to score, right? So that when I walked through it, it didn't score. Only when the giant ball goes through the end zone does it give you a point. And we do that, of course, with cast 2, right? So when somebody walks into the goal, we cast it to a giant ball. And we play a sound of applause if they scored. If it's anybody not the giant ball, then like when I walked through to play the collapsing sound, right? It then gets the reset point. That's the gets the reset point. That is the place where the ball is going to respawn to. And then it sets the actual location of the ball to the reset point. And so this is something called a target point. And out here in the real world, it's not really the real world, we've got a target point somewhere here, ball reset point. And so again, the goal, we click on that, we click on eyedropper, and we click on the reset point here, like that. And then that chooses a spot where it teleports the ball to when it's done. So that's how you can like link together like teleporters and places where the teleporter goes to. And then if you ever like need to, like the reason why this is nice is like, let's say we need to readjust the entire level, you know, just like move everything over. If the teleporter had like hard coded into it, go to location 800, 1400, 400, then when you move everything, all the teleporter locations are broken. It's a lot better to have your things tied to an object, and then you could just like move that object around, right? Like I could just move it up here, and you know, move it, you know, over here somewhere. That's gonna be fun. Okay, and then you don't have to like hard code values or anything. It's all very visual, very graphical. Stop shooting me. Stop shooting me. Stop. Get in there. There we go, got some velocity going. And then you see it spawns over there. Now the giant ball is going to be heading off into the lake, which is solid. We can't actually walk through this lake. You can see we've got some cubes here that are bobbing in the water. So these cubes are called bobbing boxes. And so the bobbing boxes, when they begin playing, they record their location. And then as they run on event tick, they set their location to a new location. And the new location is their initial position plus some trigonometry, so they move up and down a little bit. And the rotation is set to their initial rotation somewhere. Rotation. Maybe it just overwrites it every time. But there's some trigonometry for the amplitude, frequency, and phase. And then that will cause it to roll and pitch. It doesn't yaw. This is yaw. They don't spin in place, but they will roll. They'll tilt sideways, and they tilt up and down based on some trigonometry, and they look pretty cool. So come back in here and hit play. I miss not having sprint. I must not have done a sprint 2 years ago. But you can see that they are just very happily animating themselves. They are running on event tick, which isn't like the world's greatest thing, but it does look pretty good. Like you can see they're bobbing up and down. They're kind of rotating side to side. There's like a little background thing. It's a pretty good for background decoration. Remind me that I want to ask how to code something off topic. I don't want to disrupt the flow. Sure. This gun has animation whenever it fires. That's on the default gun. This is the Unreal Engine 4 gun. So I think they changed how the gun works in Unreal 5. See that thing is like flipping around. We've got a button here. I don't remember what it does. Button. Event hit. So when we touch it, it will show the ramp. Okay. And so this is going to call a function, probably. Yeah. So on the ramp, there is going to be a function. No. Just toggle show me. Oh, it's the event here. Okay. So when you touch the button, then it will toggle the show me on the thing. So so again, this is linking together one object and another object in the world. So the button blueprint has a ramp blueprint object reference here, public world instance editable. So this guy, you click on him, you click on who is your ramp that you're going to control, you click on that, and then they're linked together. And then when you walk up and touch the thing, it's going to cause the ramp to hide or show itself. That's how you like connect two different things together. So there's a lot of examples here of like connecting one blueprint to another blueprint. When you know the ball goes into the scoring zone, then it connects to this thing here and changes its text floating the world, and the ball of course goes flying off into the lake. So let's probably move that back to here. And yeah, okay. Got a door, that's a timeline. That's about it for this, I think. Got some water down there. So another way you can do this, so it's a much smarter way of doing things. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can connect things. Some people do everything like the world blueprint, which is somewhere. I don't use it ever. Somewhere in here. There's a blueprint for the entire level, and some people like do all their code in that. And then just everything is connected inside of there because it's all in one blueprint. A level blueprint or something. Pixel bridge, that's what we're talking about. Somewhere. Yeah, not it's here right now. But somewhere in there you can edit the level blueprint. I wasn't too comfortable with custom events. So I've been using an endless amount of Boolean variables in your character and setting them to true or false, and then grabbing them from other objects to change certain things. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, that works too. Usually though, I prefer just having, and so the way you do it, let's say that you wanted it so that when you score a goal, that this sentry gun goes away because it's kind of annoying me, right? So like the sentry gun here is of type sentry gun blueprint, okay? And so this is kind of like what we had. We've kind of done stuff like this before, right? Every tick, if they're within 20 meters of us, we do a dot product and see if they're within a 45-degree cone. If they're visible, we do a trace line here. We do a trace line if we can see them. And so like if they're visible, if they're within 45 degrees, if they're within range, then we rotate towards the player, and every half second we fire. And so we get the time, and if it's time to fire again, we fire, and then we set the time that we last fired, and we play sound and stuff like that. So this is a sentry gun, right? And so let's say we want like the sentry gun to like go away if we score. Okay, so we need to go into the goal blueprint, and this is how you can link things together. So we can make a new variable, and the variable is going to be called our sentry gun. I don't know. I don't have any good names for variables here. And the type of this is going to be sentry gun object reference. Okay. Sometimes finding those things can be annoying. Like if you're trying to find an actor, then, you know, sometimes, like, for whatever reason, sometimes you'll get like 9 million. Here's actor here. But sometimes you get like, yeah, there's just like, it can be hard to find sometimes. So we're going to do sentry gun, and we're going to make it world instance settable by clicking on the little eyeball there. And so what we're going to do is, after all this happens, we play the, we play the applause, and we update the scoreboards. We update the number of points. We set the text based on the number of points. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hide our sentry gun. So our sentry gun, get our sentry gun. Now, actually, let me show you a bug that can happen from this first. Okay, so we're going to get our sentry gun, and we are going to, on our sentry gun, we are going to hide it. So set visible, set hidden, actor hidden, sure. We're going to hide them. Okay. So when we score the goal, it's going to hide the sentry gun. But it's not because we haven't set the sentry gun, right? So let me move the ball a little bit closer here so I don't have to wait too long. And so watch what happens. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to kick the ball. Come on. And notice that the thing did not hide. I got the score, but the thing didn't hide. And the reason why it didn't work, and we'll get an error when we quit, is because we called set actor hidden in the game, but that variable was never initialized. Right? We never actually did the eyedropper thing to connect the one blueprint to another. And you'll do that sometimes. Like I do it sometimes. This time it was deliberate, but a lot of times it's not. I just forget that, I create the variable and I just forget to link the two. It happens. So there is one cool trick that doctors hate that that you can do, and that's if you right click on this get here. Like this is get our sentry gun, right? If you right click on it, you can choose convert to validated get, like that. And what that does is, if it's valid, we set it as hidden. And if it's not valid, that means we forgot to set it, right? Like, and sometimes that's okay. Like sometimes, like the sentry's dead or something, and so you just don't do anything. Like you just leave it like this, right? Like you just are like, cool, we're good, we're done. However, like for this situation, I would probably want to print a message to myself, like maybe a debug message, at least when I'm doing development, print string, bruh, you forgot to set the sentry gun on the goal BP. Save, compile, save, play. And then you see right there, bruh, you forgot to set the sentry gun. And now we don't get an error message. Okay? So anytime you are doing a get or something like that, and there's a possibility that the thing that you're getting just doesn't exist, right? Like it might have been destroyed already. It might, like maybe the player killed it or something like that. Then if the player can kill it, then you don't want to print this print string, right? Because you're going to be getting warnings that you didn't set a variable just because the player killed it, right? So a validated get is a super cool thing. If you don't want to do a validated get, there's a very close equivalent to it. Get our sentry gun, and we have a thing called is valid. And you can pass in a thing, and then that basically does the same thing. So the easier way of doing it is just to convert to a validated get. All right. And now it'll just silently fail. Okay. Don't forget to set that. It'll just, so like if I forget to set it, it won't break, but just nothing will happen also, which is a common thing that happens in Unreal Engine. Just nothing happens. So, let's click back out to here and let's get it to work. So we're going to click on this guy and I'm going to click on the eyedropper for my sentry gun, or I could just pick from the list here. There's only one sentry gun in the world. What happened here? What happened? Where'd you go? There we go. Our sentry gun, you can just pick from the list. You just pick it. That works too. But if you have a lot of sentry guns and you want to like eyedropper and then like come over here and like click on the thing, and then that will select that sentry gun, goes away when we score the goal. And that's how you can connect things. You can connect scoring zones to scoreboards. You can connect the player to, you know, other things. And a lot of people do the approach that Megan was talking about, which is you just store all of the variables on the player, because the player never goes away, right? Even if you die, typically you don't delete the player. That tends to break everything. So what you do is you put all the variables on the player, and then various things will say get player pawn, you know, cast to third-person character, and then you grab the variables off the player. But if the player doesn't need to know about it, then direct blueprint to blueprint communication like this is probably the way to go. So one downside is like things have to be blueprint. Like this ball here is a blueprint. If you want it to like interact with things, because otherwise it doesn't know. Like some static mesh touched me. You're like, was it the ball? I don't know. You know, so sometimes you just make a blueprint just so it has a name. You know, like I just made a sphere, turned on physics, said turn it into a blueprint, and named it ball. And it doesn't have any code on it. It doesn't do anything interesting. It's just named so that when it goes through the end zone, you can say cast to, you know, giant ball. Did the thing that touched me, you know, when it began overlap, check to see if the thing that touched me is a giant ball, right? So if it's not a giant ball, we don't care. But if we were touched by a giant ball, then we applaud and give a point and teleport it back to its location and things like that. So cool. Doctor hates when you're on UE5 during surgery. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about today is a world-aligned texture, and I also want to do real water stuff. So